Everybody at 6:30 p.m. and it's my pleasure to start up this live public forum for Candidates Forum. It's sponsored by the MCC, the Midcoast Community Council, and the League of Women Voters. This is, I think, probably the first live one we've had going on Zoom in this area, so we're glad to be first up. It's both being broadcast via Zoom on streaming and also on PCT. So with that, welcome to everybody, and I'll turn it over to the League of Women Voters to conduct the forum.
Thank you, Lynn. Hi, everybody. My name is Margie Gator. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of North and Central San Mateo County. I'll be the moderator for this forum, which is for the San Mateo County Harbor District number 4. Thanks again to Len and the Midcoast Community Council for sponsoring the forum tonight. First, just a few housekeeping and announcements. Virtual candidate forums have some unique features, but we think we've designed a process for using the conference apps that will give everyone a good experience and follow the League's long-standing and well-received process for these forums. There's a host timekeeper tonight, that's Kathy, and a moderator, that's me. The host tonight is responsible for managing the technical aspects of the virtual meeting. Your video is turned off by default, and the only video that is enabled is for us, the sponsor, he's gone off, and the candidates, so we can focus on them. You are also automatically muted. This is to allow candidates to speak without interruption. We urge you all to submit questions. You can do that in a chat to the host, which is Kathy, and she will feed them to me via our instant messaging app, Slack, or you can send an email to lwvncsmc.questions@gmail.com. There's no campaign literature or other material, including campaign promoting background photos within the meeting, please. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization of both men and women whose purpose is to promote active and informed participation in government. We appreciate the interest and efforts of groups like the Midcoast Community Council in presenting events that increase voters' knowledge about the candidates and the issues. The purpose of the candidate forum is to provide an opportunity for all the candidates to be heard at one time and to be questioned by you, the audience. We will hope that by bringing the candidates and voters together face to face, voters will be better informed and will make wise decisions when they vote. We appreciate your interest in coming out to learn more about the candidates. Tonight, you will hear from the candidates for the San Mateo County Harbor District 4. There are 3 candidates for 1 seat. The term of office is 4 years. The candidates in alphabetical order are Lee Fernandez, Don Korth, and Tom Mattouche. The rules of the forum are as follows. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. Then we'll have the question period. Each candidate will have a minute to answer each question. They'll all have equal time to speak on the question, even if it's addressed just to one. And then we'll have closing statements for 2 minutes each. Our timekeeper is Kathy up there in the window. And as she noted earlier to the candidates, she'll put up a very high-tech sign in the window when you've got 30 seconds to go in any of those timed situations, and a stop sign if you're still going. Again, you can finish your sentence, but please don't go on for a paragraph after you see the stop sign. All the questions come to me, the moderator, and I sort them by subject, and I will cover a variety of topics. We often don't have time to ask all the questions, and I may need to rephrase or combine the questions at time. And just to repeat, questions are the engine of these forums, so please keep them coming. The candidates have drawn lots to determine the order in which they will speak. Each candidate has 3 minutes for an opening statement, and we're ready to start. And our first candidate is Tom Mattouche.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to participate in this forum, virtual or otherwise. I'd like to give you a little background about myself. I started coming into Pillar Point Harbor in the early 70s. I had a wholesale bait route and I sold bait to the 2 bait shops that were in the harbor. I've been using Pillar Point Harbor as a harbor of safe refuge and launch since the 70s and 80s, back when there was only a single lane launch ramp and there were no docks. If you wanted to get out to a charter boat, you got on a landing craft and you were ferried out to the boats. I've met with people in the sanctuary trying to garner experience and provide background. I sat on all the regional working groups to help set up the Marine reserves. And currently, I do the scientific research in the reserves and out of the reserves that determines for the state of California, are the reserves effective and working? Meeting with different sanctuary programs, I've tried to help items like the sand replenishment. We've been talking about this for years and we're still storing it and not using it. I've worked in Washington, D.C. up on Capitol Hill and talked about our salmon fishermen and our salmon fishing. I've worked out of the harbor on commercial crab boats, commercial salmon boats. I currently own a charter boat and I take people out for crab, rockfish, salmon, albacore, whale watching, bird watching, anything that can be done on a boat, I'm out there willing to help. I've been part of this harbor for over 30 years, and it pleases me to just be part of having the hand on the steering wheel to try and take this and advance things, make them as smooth as possible, and make things work. And that's my goal. We've got a pier that needs to be rebuilt, overhauled. We've got trails. We've got a new bathroom. We've got so many different things. We've got lease issues. So it would just please me to be reelected to continue the work that I've been doing for the last 6 years.
Thank you. Our next opening statement is Lee Fernandez. Come off mute, Lee.
Here we go.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Midcoast Community Council and League of Women Voters, for this opportunity to introduce myself. I live here in Half Moon Bay in the Miramar neighborhood. You may hear a background. My neighbor's gardener is currently active. I'm Lee Fernandez, a first-time candidate and a 26-year resident of San Mateo County. I believe in public service. That's what makes this country great. Citizen involvement by voting and participating in our government. I'm endorsed by San Mateo County Harbor Commissioner Ed Lorenas, Half Moon Bay Council members Deborah Penrose and Debbie Ruddick, and Pacifica Mayor Deirdre Martin, and many other community leaders. Please visit my website, leefernandez.org, for specifics about my priorities. My first name is spelled Lee, L-E-E. I'm uniquely qualified to serve as your Harbor District Commissioner. My public service includes the Redwood City Water Task Force, initiating recycled water use on city parks and landscaping, and serving on the Measure C Bond Oversight Committee, a $25 million construction bond for Sandpiper Elementary School in Redwood Shores, which came in on time and on budget. My work experience includes 18 years with the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force, managing 100+ staff, multi-million-dollar annual budgets, navigating stringent federal and state regulations while assisting thousands of military families. I'm an advocate for social justice. I was inspired at 16 when I attended a political convention in Los Angeles and saw John F. Kennedy accept the presidential nomination. I joined the Meredith March Against Fear into Jackson, Mississippi in June 1966, where I heard Martin Luther King Jr. preach, "We shall overcome," one of his most inspiring speeches. I taught in a freedom school in New Orleans' 9th Ward and participated in sit-ins to protest racial segregation of restaurants and public transportation. And I've marched on picket lines and in mass demonstrations against discrimination of all types. I support public access to our coast and environmental protections. One of the Harbor District's most important services is emergency search and rescue. The Harbor Patrol, the district's water rescue team, has saved hundreds of lives in cooperation with the U.S. Coast Guard. My priorities for the Harbor District include improving ocean and bay water quality to address the polluted beaches at Pillar Point Harbor, improved facilities, including playgrounds for families and more restrooms with outdoor showers and dog watering stations, preparing for climate change and sea level rise, Johnson Pier safety renovations, trail, pedestrian, and bicycle safety, outreach, accountability, and transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final opening statement is Dawn Korth.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dawn Korth, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to share a little bit about myself and answer questions about my plans should I be elected to the San Mateo Harbor Commission. So a little bit about me. I grew up on the East Coast, just outside of Boston. I graduated from Worcester Polytech with a degree in mechanical engineering. In 1997, I moved to the West Coast. Since then, I've lived all over the Bay Area, and for the last 9 years, I've resided on the coast. My husband and I, with our 2 dogs, live in El Granada, directly across from Pillar Point Harbor. We actually look out from our living room onto Pillar Point Harbor. I work as a project manager for Gilead Sciences and have over 15 years of project management experience. Prior to Gilead, I managed a $27 million business for another biotech company. In addition to this, my husband and I own 2 commercial fishing boats that are based in Pillar Point Harbor. I spend a lot of time in the harbor. I have a very vested interest in seeing the harbor flourish. Having spent time there, I'm aware of the day-to-day activities of the harbor, and I'm aware of the improvements that are needed there. As many of you know, it's been well publicized that the Harbor Commission has a reputation for dysfunction and irresponsible spending. I believe it's time for this to change. If I'm elected to the commission, I will use my experience and rational thinking to make the best fiscal responsible decisions for the harbor and the constituents. I will make rational decisions based on facts and data and believe that they will benefit the harbor and the constituents. I won't make decisions based on what suits me and my personal interest or because I have a vendetta against another commissioner. My goal is to see that the harbor is a safe place for people to visit, for the fishermen, the business owners, and a place where people want to spend time. And that's my goal. And I would like to see the change.
Great, thank you. Now it is time for the candidates to answer your questions. If you haven't submitted a question, feel free to do so in the chat function to Kathy. Each candidate will have a minute to answer the question. I'll vary the order in which the candidates are called on to speak, and we'll go from there. All right, here we go. The first question is, we all share concerns about water quality in the ocean and specifically here in the Bay. What do you see as the Harbor Commission's responsibility toward improving and sustaining water quality, and what specific steps would you as Commissioner take to address this pressing issue of water quality? And first on this question is Lee Fernandez.
Yes, this is so important because of the most recent Bay Bummer list, where 3 beaches in Pillar Point Harbor were declared to be among the 10 most polluted in the state. So I believe this is a much bigger problem than just for the Harbor District. We need to involve the county. We need to involve local communities. And that's because a lot of the problem comes from the runoff that comes from the roads, the runoff also from communities, pet waste, and so on. So there are multiple problems, plus the recirculation issue, which has been an issue forever and needs to have some engineering expertise to help us figure out how to enable water to escape from Pillar Point Harbor and be flushed. There needs to be a way to do that. So there's multiple issues here, and of course it's a long time problem, but the main thing is to get others involved so that we can solve it.
Thank you. And next on water quality is Tom Mattouche. Make sure you come off mute. There we go.
I was trying to avoid the background noise and I avoided too much noise. So it's important to point out that the Harbor District is and has a long record of working towards trying to fix these problems. We invest a lot of money with the RCD to help pay for testing. We're looking at the things already about the pipes and the different problems and the infrastructure. So there's already a record of intense Harbor District participation in working towards this problem. In addition, over the years, we've seen, it isn't just the dogs on the coast. I mean, if you've been around long enough, you've heard everything from the birds, the sea lions. There's been so many things that have been blamed for this, liveaboards, people. And there's been a lot of research. RCD is doing really good on telling us what's happening. And Harbor District is actively working towards fixing those problems now.
Great, thank you. And finally, Dawn Korth.
I would agree with Lee. I think this is a larger issue. I think, as Tom mentioned, yes, we have the issue of the liveaboards and the commercial boats that are in the harbor, and that does add to contamination in the water. I think we need to hold the boat owners responsible to keep that part of the harbor safe. But it's a bigger issue. The issue is there is no filtration of water there. It's a problem. I'll share a personal experience. My husband fell into the harbor last year and ended up with a staph infection because the water's contaminated. And that is one of the things that I think we need to address. If we have people there who are swimming, they're kayaking, they're paddleboarding in that water right there in the harbor, we need to address this.
Great, thank you. Our next question is the Granada Community Services District twice tried to buy the land beside the Granada Post Office for a community center. Since the Harbor District has reacquired the critical part of this land from the Fire District, would you consider selling this to Granada CSD for its community project? And first on this is Tom Mattouche.
It's important for the Harbor District to have a place to call their own. None of the three candidates here can make up for a bad decision in the past for when we owned all that property that was given to the Harbor District by commercial fishermen. So I'm not in favor at this time of saying GCSD, yeah, you can have this prime piece of land. The Harbor District looked at a number of other places that are nearby. I think that central location is good. We've had different ideas on helping to build a community meeting room, different things that would suit the public. But I am not in favor of turning it over to Granada Community Sanitary District.
Thank you. And next on this is Dawn Korth.
I would agree with that. If there are other options for them to put the community center, the downtown area of El Granada is already too congested. And I don't think that the parking, it would have to be looked at. The parking is definitely not sufficient to support a community type building there. I would not be in favor of it, especially if there are other options.
Thank you. And finally on this question, Lee Fernandez. Come off mute, you're on mute. Still.
Can I start over now? Sorry.
Yeah.
I have a different point of view, and I look forward to a collaborative project, if that's a possibility, where there would be an administrative building for the Harbor District that would include community meeting rooms that could be used by the community because it is a central location. Also, it can be an LEED certified, that is environmentally green building, and a special project, one that the community could be proud of.
All right, thank you. Our next question is the commercial fishing community has several pending lawsuits against the district relating to Johnson Pier use. Do you support adding renovation of Johnson Pier back into the budget? The commercial fishing community has several pending lawsuits against the district related to Johnson Pier use. Do you support adding renovation of Johnson Pier back into the budget? And first is Dawn Korth.
I would look at it, again, as I mentioned in my opening statement, I do spend a lot of time there, and especially during the holiday season when there are quite a few people who are visiting the harbor. I think we need to look at it from the standpoint of, is it safe for the people who are visiting the pier, who are coming there to buy their crab, coming there to buy their fish? When you have commercial trucks going down the pier and you've got pedestrians and children, it's currently not a safe environment. And I'm surprised that there haven't been more incidents, but I'd have to see more details on what the project entails. And obviously this would be a project that is going to take quite some time. So again, it would impede some of the businesses in the harbor. So I think it's not an easy answer. I think we have to look at safety overall.
Thank you. And next on this is Lee Fernandez.
Yes, I definitely think we need to reinstate the Johnson Pier renovation in the Harbor District budget. And of course it's safety first, but also the fishermen need more places to offload. They need more hoists. It needs to be reconfigured in such a way that it can be safe for the public. Of course, the strength of the pier is super important with all those vehicles going down there. And Dawn is right, in holiday season and when seasons open, like when crab season opens and when squid season opens, it's a madhouse. So we need some renovation and updating. Remember, it was built in 1970. It doesn't meet safety standards, current safety standards. Thanks.
Thank you. And finally, Tom Mattouche.
The upgrading and renovation of Johnson Pier has never been removed from the budget. But those who study process and preparation and plans and permitting realize that government speed makes glacial speed look rapid. We're working towards and realize the importance of improving the pier. At one time, the pier seemed large enough to handle everything that's going on. Studies by EcoTrust, even as much as 20 years ago, were predicting the demise of commercial fishing at Pillar Point Harbor. They listed how many fewer commercial boats were there and how the business was going down. Well, their demise was falsely predicted. So now we realize we need far better facilities for the commercial fishermen, for the charter boat fishermen, and for everybody that's got boats there. And we are working that direction.
Thank you. Our next question is, do you support harbor erosion control mechanisms other than armoring walls or riprap? Do you support removal of existing unpermitted riprap? Do you support harbor erosion control mechanisms other than armoring, meaning walls or riprap? Do you support removal of existing unpermitted riprap? And first on this is Lee Fernandez.
Thank you. Riprap is a controversial issue because there's always the possibility that erosion will happen under the riprap and it'll become an even worse situation. Of course, we know that Surfers Beach needs sand replenishment. There was a project at one point to take sediment from the harbor, dredging the harbor to use, but we have to have it tested. It's not certain that that's safe sediment to be used to replenish sand. On the West Side Trail, there's now a new project, which is just going to be started soon, I hope, that will create a living shoreline. This is a little bit different from riprap. It's where we use marsh and natural prevention for erosion instead of riprap. So I'm hoping that that will be successful and that riprap, again, controversial, we have to study it more.
Thank you. Next on this question is Tom Mattouche.
I don't believe we've got current plans for just using riprap. As Lee pointed out, we've got the living shoreline coming in for the West Trail. West Trail is important because it's a road to the beach out there. We're working on the different sand replenishment modes. As I mentioned before, I've talked to people in the sanctuary and tried to help move this down. It's the permitting. It's the idea that for the sand replenishment, how is it that Santa Cruz, Moss Landing, and Monterey are already permitted for this and we're not? We're moving closer and closer to that all the time. But I don't believe that there's any of the three candidates at this point that would say, no, we want to do something that's not safe for the harbor. We're all very concerned with the outcome and the best thing that's good for the harbor and the community.
Thank you. And finally on this question, Dawn Korth.
I agree with that. I think we need to look at what's the safest thing for the harbor, such as the West Trail. And if we can use something that's natural, and if we use the West Trail as kind of a pilot to see how that works, maybe that would be an option for us. But it's a large project. We need to look at many options before we decide which process is the best. But if it's a safety issue, it needs to be addressed.
Great, thank you. Our next question, what will you do to improve the workplace culture at the Harbor District? What will you do to improve the workplace culture at the Harbor District? And first on this is Tom Mattouche.
Well, good thing is we've been working towards those goals for a long time. We've improved our policy and procedures. The Harbor District is far down the line towards improving all those things. And it's like any building project or anything else. When you decide to start something, it doesn't mean it's finished. We've all got to work that way conscientiously towards seeing that those things happen among the staff, among the administration, and making people all feel safe there.
Thank you. And next on this question is Dawn Korth.
I mean, I think we all understand that the harbor staff are there, and they're there. They're put through. I mean, just in this past year, they're working in COVID situations. They're working in poor air quality standards. They're there to rescue people. They're risking their lives to be there to support people who are either boat owners or people who are visiting the harbor. I think that culture comes from the top, and I think if we try to create a culture of inclusiveness, then it will help. It'll help bring up the morale. It'll help support the staff there, and I think that's where the board, the commissioners just approved to have a relief for some of the workers there. I think those are the kind of things that we can do as a commission to show support.
Thank you. And finally on this question, Lee Fernandez.
Yes, I think respect is at the base of it all. Respect for our staff. The staff are excellent. They know their business, and listening to them, getting their advice, and respecting their opinions, I think that's super important. I agree. Comes from the top. It comes from administration. Having had that experience, I know that's the case. I want our commission to work smoothly. I want our commission to seek advice of staff. And also I want our commission to respect each other and to listen to one another's opinions, have plenty of time for discussion in public. I think that's super important. So the commission itself is a mentor to the staff.
Great, thank you. That's everybody, yes. Our next question is, what aspect of harbor operations is of most interest to you? Commercial fishing, sport fishing, environmental protection, or some other aspect of harbor operations? What part of the harbor is most interesting to you? And for this, we will start with Dawn Korth.
That's a tough decision. I would have to say that the safety overall is the most important for everyone, for the boat owners, for people who live there, and for visitors. So that's a very tough question. I think they all need to work in conjunction with each other, right? The visitors are there to support the commercial fishermen, and the businesses that thrive in the harbor. So it would be very difficult to choose one.
Thank you. And next on this question is Lee Fernandez.
So I think supporting safety of public access and safety for all who use the harbor, the commercial fishermen, the recreational fishermen, all the folks who come to the harbor just to have a look, to eat, to hike, to walk around and enjoy, to whale watch, all those things that are going on, kayaking. We want to be sure there's safety in place. And I really depend on our harbor patrol, especially in this difficult time of COVID and the wildfires, who've been out in the smoke helping folks. I mean, that's how we connect with the public, and it's how we help let the public know about safety. Also, we need more outreach. We need to have multilingual signage. We need to have a multilingual media platform so that all of the folks who visit, some may not speak and read English. They need to know how to be safe. They need to know about the history of the harbor, things like that. So outreach to our diverse community will help.
Thank you. And finally, Tom Mattouche.
You know, there's no reason why we can't be addressing all these things at once. We have a vibrant commercial fishing industry that brings in a lot of money for many different fisheries. We've got to take care of our commercial fishermen. Our sport fishermen, our harbor here was legendary in the state because Coastside Fishing Club, of which I'm on the board, started the salmon acclimation pens. We're releasing 750,000 salmon per year. That's an entirely volunteer operation. Got to take care of the pier, the buildings. All those buildings have basically outlived their useful life and should be at some time replaced. The way funding and budget's going, that's probably not going to happen in the next couple of years, but there's no reason why we can't address all those things and multitask.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, do you support the Harbor District's new 1 p.m. meeting time for its regular monthly Harbor Commission meetings? And what is the reason for your opinion? Do you support the Harbor District's new 1 p.m. meeting time for its regular monthly commission meetings? And why do you have this opinion? And for this, we start with Lee Fernandez.
Yes, I do not support that new 1 p.m. meeting time. I feel it is disrespectful of our working citizens who may want to Zoom in, and later, hopefully, we'll be having in-person meetings. It's going to be very hard for the public to join our meetings at 1 p.m. The working public, parents, it's just going to be difficult. So I really think that in the county, the standard is for evening meetings, so that the public can be involved. So I feel it's disrespectful of the public to change that meeting time.
Thank you. And next is Tom Mattouche.
I'm looking forward to trying the 1 p.m. meetings. I don't think there's anyone here that thinks that the COVID situation is just going to suddenly end anytime soon. I know I sit on a number of different committees for different organizations. I sit on the Dungeness Crab Task Force Whale Entanglement Group. And we have meetings now during the day. I've had to download an app so that I can be either on my boat or somewhere else and attend meetings. I don't see a reason why we can't experiment with this and try it for 3, 4, 5 months. And once we're able to have joint meetings, let's look at it and see what kind of success we had, what kind of participation we had.
Thank you. And finally, Dawn Korth.
I actually feel quite strongly about this. I was on the board meeting on Wednesday when this decision was made to move the meetings to 1 to 4 on a Wednesday. And I just think that we might as well just have closed doors sessions, because people are not going to be able to attend. Even if it's virtual, they're not going to be able to take 3 hours during their work time to get onto a Zoom call. And then once we move to a live, which eventually we will, who knows how long that will be, 6 months, a year, before we move to a live meeting situation. And some of those meetings take place when they're live. They take place in South San Francisco. I cannot imagine someone and thinking about the boat owners, the business owners in the harbor, taking time from Half Moon Bay to go up to South San Francisco on a Wednesday afternoon to join a meeting. I really think we are alienating the constituents, the people that we support. I think we're alienating them.
Thank you. Another process question. The public should hear from the commissioners. The current practice of allowing commissioners to speak for 2 minutes and placing the commissioner comments at the end of the agenda means the public must wait at least 3 hours to hear from the commissioners. Do you support returning commissioner comments to the beginning of the agenda and return the comment period to the original 5 minutes? And why do you have your opinion? I'll read it again. The public has the right to hear from the commissioners. The current practice of allowing commissioners to speak for 2 minutes and placing the comments at the end of the agenda means the public must wait until the end to hear from the commissioners. Do you support returning the commissioner comments to the beginning and back to the original 5 minutes, and why? And for this, we start with Tom Mattouche.
I don't have an opinion about the beginning of the meeting or the end of the meeting. You're hearing from the commissioners. One thing that's important is to do the business of the commission. And commissioner comments at the beginning do not necessarily give us the amount of time that we need to get to the business at hand. So many times there's discussions on issues. I say, let's hear from the commissioners, but let's not impede the public's right to be able to see how we're helping perform the public's business by completing a meeting and completing the tasks at hand.
Great, thank you. And next is Dawn Korth.
I think we should hear the comments first, because I think, again, going back to who does the commission serve? It serves the public. It serves the constituents. And if we can get their attention for a short period of time, I don't know anybody that's going to stay on the meeting for 2.5 hours to hear the comments at the end, unless it's something that they feel very strongly about.
Thank you. And finally, Lee Fernandez.
I agree that we need to hear from the commissioners, and I think the 5 minutes is better than 2. You can't expect the public to wait 2.5 hours through closed door meetings and then hear from commissioners. That's just not reasonable. I would like to have public comments first and then commissioner comments. That's my preference. I like to hear from the public. I think we learn important things and we get ideas about what the public needs by hearing their specific comments. So public first, then commissioners. And I don't like it when people are cut off. You know, I feel like discussion is really where we find out how to do things correctly, not by cutting people off.
Thank you. And our next question, we got a lot about process this evening. Do you support allowing members of the public to serve on Harbor District committees? Do you support allowing members of the public to serve on Harbor District committees? And first on this is Dawn Korth.
I guess I don't really understand the question. What committees would they be serving on?
I'm just reading the question as it was submitted.
It's hard for me to answer that with not understanding what committees they would be serving on. I'd need some more information. I mean, I think it's appropriate. I mean, it would be appropriate for some committees, but not for others. So I need to have more information before I could answer that.
Fair enough. Next is Lee Fernandez.
Yes, I would like to start an equality committee and actually reach out to the public and to different organizations and ask for input and advice from the public about what their needs are, how they're feeling about the things that the Harbor Commission is doing, the projects that are going on. I agree with Dawn that not every committee should have outside advisors, but I definitely feel we need to reach out more to the public than we are.
Thank you. And finally, Tom Mattouche.
There's nothing that stops a member of the public from attending any of our committee meetings now and making comments, participating, and just enjoying the same thing. What is the idea of having a full-on membership? You'd be subject to Brown Act violations. There's complications that go on, and how you communicate with your people, with your friends, even on the street, depending on how many people are on this committee. The public can come in anytime they want and make comments on our committees. There's no reason to have, per se, members.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, do you support a significant public open space in front of and on the corner of your proposed office building and street level retail at Avenue Portola and Obispo Road? Do you support a significant public open space in front of and on the corner of your proposed office building and street level retail at Avenue Portola and Obispo Road? And first is Lee Fernandez.
I'm not sure about how much space there is to allow for open space, but my thoughts about having community space within the building that's available for the community to use, so that I know that El Granada does not have a community center and would like to have one. And so I feel like this building could serve dual purpose.
Great, thank you. And next is Tom Mattouche.
Similar, I have to agree with Lee on this. Depends on what the footprint and the design. This will be fully vetted and a full public process. And if there's an opportunity to make this happen, we will certainly make this happen, or who's ever elected next. It's not a question of, do we want retail space? Do we want meeting space? Do we want a public courtyard? How many square feet and what can we actually do in a building when we have to put up, we need a different office space, we need the mailing. There's a lot of things, the infrastructure that runs the administration. So if there's space, if there's money, if there's everything that we need, by all means, let's have that. Look at Granada Communities, whatever district it's called now. They permit that room to be used, and we would most certainly be up for trying something similar.
Thank you. And finally on this, Dawn Korth.
And I'm in favor of having more open space and community space. El Granada is a very small community, and there isn't a lot of community space here, as Lee mentioned. Again, I would want to look at bringing more businesses in a retail space, what that's going to do for traffic and parking and for the El Granada community. That you know, just with the beaches, we've been, you know, the residents of El Granada have been overwhelmed this past summer with people parking in the streets. And so I think that would have to really be looked at, and how that would be addressed is where's the parking, where's the traffic flow going to happen? But all for open space and community space.
Thank you. And this will be our next to last question. So penultimate, it is, how do you plan to communicate with your constituents? How will you communicate with your constituents? And first on this is Tom Mattouche.
We just had a discussion about commissioner comments. I know that the first time I was elected, we sat down and we had meet your commissioner, and we tried to have meetings in the harbor, and ironically, it was raining and nobody showed up. People are always free to contact me on my harbor email, via cell phone. I'm always there. In fact, I'm always in the harbor pretty much. So I'm not hard to find. I'm not hard to communicate with.
Thank you. And next is Dawn Korth.
So as I mentioned earlier, I spend a lot of time in the harbor. So I'm ears there. I'm talking to the people there, so I can bring their thoughts, their ideas back to the commission. And also I'm very active in the community here. I'm a personal trainer. I'm very active in the community, and I can share what's happening in the commission. I can share what's happening in the harbor to people. And as I put on my candidate application, all my contact information is there. Phone, email. People can reach out to me. I'm very accessible.
Thank you. And finally, Lee Fernandez.
Yes, I agree. We need to be very receptive to people and open. And I think one of the ways we do that is through the media. And again, as I mentioned before, multilingual media platform would be good for all of us to have, not just for the commission itself to have, the district. So I'd like to reach out to people and find out what are their needs. Again, an equality committee where we actually invite representatives of the community to help to come in and give us some input on things that are concerned to them. Might be helpful to the commission as well. So I plan and I am open to, and also maybe a newsletter of some kind, my own newsletter, giving out information about the harbor and about the projects that are coming up, like the new bathroom plan. It's available on the website. It's gorgeous.
Great, thank you. And our last question is, what special talents or qualification would you bring to this office? What are your special talents or your unique qualifications that you would bring to this office? Or in other words, what is your superpower? And for this, we will start with Dawn Korth.
Well, as I mentioned in my opening, I have over 15 years of project management experience. I'm known from my colleagues as being a strategic, rational thinker. And I think that's what I will bring to the commission. I don't take sides. I look at all the information. I look at the data. I make rational decisions. And I think that's what I can bring to the commission.
Thank you. And next is Lee Fernandez. What is your superpower?
Yes, I believe that I have expertise in communicating clearly and in being empathetic, listening to the public, finding out what the needs might be. But also, again, I look at the facts. I'm interested in knowing why things are working or not working the way they are. I always want more information. I examine it carefully. I've also had plenty of experience working with budgets, and I know that's always an issue. I would also like to ensure that our master plan gets completed. It's been years. We need a master plan. That's going to help us to plan for the future and to be more precise and respond to what the public thinks about the master plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Tom Mattouche, what is your superpower?
I've had a Coast Guard license for about 25 years. I've been operating on the ocean up and down the entire state of California and as far as Canada. I've got a master's in business administration. I've operated healthcare facilities. I ran an open heart surgery center. I've run cardiology facilities. I've had as many as 152 people working for me, $52 million budget. I know how to follow budgets and keep things on track, work with people and make things happen. I've been in almost every harbor in the entire state that's on the coast. I have a lot of experience there. I had to develop a mooring program for the Port District of Santa Cruz that set up everything based on all the experience I had at all the various moorings. So I think I'm well qualified to serve the Harbor District.
Thank you. And now it is time for closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and we're going to reverse the order from the opening statements. And while they get ready for that, I'm just going to tell you one thing, that you can find additional information about the candidates at the League Smart Voter website, or it's called Voters Edge, votersedge.org. So we will do the closing statements, and first is Dawn Korth.
So thank you, everyone, and thank you very much for the questions. As I mentioned in my opening, I have a vested interest in the harbor. I have a business, a commercial fishing business that is based there. I live across the street from the harbor. I want to see the harbor thrive. I want to make it a safe, clean, place for people who live there, for the commercial businesses, a place that we can be proud of. And as far as the commission, I really, the commission does not have a good reputation right now. And I would like to be part of making that change. I would like to make solid decisions based on fact and data and bring us back to fiscal responsibility so that the people who live here, the people who we support can be proud of us, be proud of the Harbor Commission, and be proud of the harbor. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Lee Fernandez.
My experience as a manager of military service programs, a trainer of child development professionals, and a teacher and mentor to families has taught me to listen empathetically and communicate clearly. I am trained and experienced in conflict resolution, and I have participated in labor negotiations. I grew up boating and fishing with my dad and brothers. I surfed as a teen, and as a mother, I encouraged 3 competitive swimmers. I own a small business providing parenting classes for families in Redwood City and San Francisco. I'm living along with you through the problems of COVID-19 and this wildfire season. My goals are to work with fellow harbor commissioners to ensure public access to our coast and bay and to support commercial and recreational fishing and boating by providing safe working harbors. I will ensure fiscal responsibility while preparing for sea level rise and protecting our beautiful natural environment. San Mateo County Harbor is blessed with incredible coastlines. I support commercial fishing of local sustainable seafood and tourism. I support prioritizing recreational opportunities for the local community as well as for visitors. We want to walk, jog, hike, bike, surf, swim, kayak, fish, sail, whale watch, and bird watch in fresh air and clean water. I'm looking for creative ways to solve legacy problems like water quality in Pillar Point Harbor and Johnson Pier inadequacies. New eyes can find new solutions. Our ocean and bay coastlines are precious. Let's enjoy, utilize, and protect them. I would be honored to receive your vote. Lee Fernandez for Harbor District. Please visit my website, leefernandez.org. And thanks again to the Midcoast Community Council and the League of Women Voters for providing this candidate forum. And thanks also to all of you who ask questions. That's how we find out, by asking questions.
Thank you. And finally, for closing statement, Tom Mattouche.
I've been working on or around the Pacific Ocean since 1967. I'm glad to have gotten the experience with my Coast Guard operations, with my sport fishing, with my recreational diving, with the experience I've had visiting all the different harbors, being able to use my master's degree in leadership abilities to contribute to the harbor, to provide innovative solutions, and to be another set of eyes to open up. How can we do this differently? How can we make the harbor better? We've got 2 harbors. Let's work on both of them. It's been 25 years since I've heard about developments that are going on at Oyster Point now. That was a pipe dream 2.5 decades ago. Now it's underway. So I look forward to helping both of our harbors achieve goals that represent the recreational public, the fishing public, the general public that doesn't know anything about fishing or anything else. How can we make this harbor district better? And I believe I'm well suited with my background to help the general public towards that goal. And I too want to thank everyone that submitted questions and thank the League of Women Voters for setting this up and giving me the opportunity for this platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, can you share our slides, please? While she's doing that, I'm just going to remind you about votersedge.org. That's where all the candidates have been invited to link to their websites and add their information. Kathy's showing a couple of slides. Remember to vote on Tuesday, November 3rd. Ballots go out. If you can make it a little bigger, that would be great. Ballots go out on October 5th. You can return them in 3 ways. That's perfect. in its posted page envelope, in a San Mateo County drop box, or at a vote center. At a vote center, you can also vote in person, and you can exchange your ballot if you've made a mistake or any of those things. Locations for the drop boxes and vote centers are at the website on the slide, smcacre.org/elections. And whatever you do, don't forget to sign your ballot. It's the main reason ballots are rejected. For more information, you'll get a sample ballot in the mail. You'll also get the official voter information guide. That's if you're registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote, go do that first. Also, the Easy Voter Guide is there, and Voter's Edge, as I've talked about, .org. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization, and membership is open to both men and women of voting age. Join us if you are interested in helping us increase civic participation in your community with forums such as these and other activities. You can go to our website, LWVNCSMC, that's for League of Women Voters of North Central San Mateo County /join. Now, in conclusion, let's all thank our candidates for running and coming to this evening to share their views. It's a hard job to put yourself out there and run for an office, so we really appreciate their efforts. And Len has raised his hand. He's going to come back on and probably tell you about the next forum of the evening. And while he's coming on mute, I'll start that conversation. There he is.
Yeah.
Thank you. So our next forum up will be for the Midcoast Community Council. We have 3 open seats and 4 candidates. I think there's been an announcement on the location for that one, so we'll be transitioning to that Zoom location. And thank you, everybody, for participating.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.